What's good, y'all? Thanks for tuning into my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you any money, but will help me out tremendously. Thanks in advance. So things with Diddy are getting darker than any of us has anticipated. Kim Porter book has the media in a chokehold. This is so sad to her, and although none of these claims in the book has not been confirmed to be true, most of the things in the book were suspected by most. I'm going to break this into many parts, not sure how many, but I hate long videos. So stay tuned in for the other video that will be following this video. Grab your popcorn and wine because this is some sad but good tea. Let's go.
Chapter 1, Introduction. Soon after high school, I started landing modeling jobs. I couldn't believe it. It was all happening so fast. I met my husband, father of my oldest child, and one of my oldest friends in life, I'll be sure. It was a whirlwind romance. I was only 19 when we married, and no, it didn't work out. Al is still one of my best friends to this day. Our son Quincy is such a talented and wonderful young man. At the time, I had no idea my relationship with Al was going to introduce me to the man that I would spend the better part of my adult life with, a man whom I love and cherish, but eventually would fear and hate. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I will say, although I knew what was going on, I turned a blind eye many times. Here, I have to tell this truth, unfortunately, because deep down, I knew everything that was happening, but I lied to myself a lot. He was so charming, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a devil, and I fell for it. This story must be told despite the fact that it will hurt my children. I cannot hide it any longer. Sean Combs must be stopped. Chapter 2, Humble Beginnings. I was born to loving parents Jake Porter and Sarah L. Porter in the Peach State of Georgia. All through Columbus High School, where I graduated in 1988, I knew I was going to be famous. In the 10th grade, one of my best friends, Tina, said to me, "You won't make it here in Georgia." I knew if I really wanted to be famous, I would have to leave my hometown and my home, Georgia. That conversation was so important as I look back now. It changed my life. I met Al while I was working in the industry. He was so dope and charming, and I had such a crush on him. We were married before I knew it, and Quincy was on the way. But I was young, and it just felt like it wasn't going to last. It was a little heated between us after we separated, but we got past that quickly. He's just a super dope guy and an amazing father. Though we separated, we're forever bonded through Quincy. Thank you, Al. I will always love you. When I met Sean, he was cool. I didn't think much of him at the time. He was just another guy at the label. Uptown was huge, and we were all living our best lives. But Sean continued to lay on the charm, and before I knew it, we were dating. As a young single mom at one of the hottest companies in the world, life couldn't get any better. Then it did. My boyfriend was getting even bigger. He and Clive would hang out a lot, but I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it was his boss, and he was doing things better than most men dare to even dream. But then it happened. I mean, okay, I was a little bit of a freak. I really enjoyed myself with my partner, and toys are one thing, but I never imagined having a man I was dating ask me to use a toy on him. For the first time, he said that he just wanted to experiment, and try something new. I was grossed out, but he kept on begging. He said it would only be this one time, and that he was just curious. I was only 20 at the time, and I said, what the hell? I hated it. He bled from it, and there was shit on it. So I left him alone after that. Chapter 3, Second Chances. Sean kept reaching out, and I kept ignoring his calls. Eventually, in a few weeks, we ran into each other at an event. He came over and sat next to me. We were cordial. He flattered me by saying, you look so amazing. I replied with a simple, "Thanks, Sean." I tried to get up to leave, but he pulled my arm, and as I turned to him, he looked deep into my eyes and said, "Look, what happened between us was weird, but I really care about you. Can we?" He paused, and I tried to use this as my attempt to escape. I pulled my hand back, and he said, I pulled my hand back and said, "Sorry, Sean, I gotta go." He said, "Please, I think I'm falling in love with you. Can we talk?" My breath was taken away. Did he say he loved me? It was so fast. I wasn't aware of this as a manipulation tactic. Not yet. God, I was so young and so naive. He continued and said, "Let's just have dinner." And I fell for it. 2 days later, we went out for drinks at a lounge in Lower Manhattan. The place was nice. Sean was really coming up and pulling out all the stops to impress me. He pulled the chair for me to sit. Back then, he was always a gentleman, and he smiled and said, "Look," as he sat down across from me. I hated it, and I never want to do it again. Please give me another chance. Over coffee the next morning, I decided to give him another chance. For the next year and a half, things seemed pretty normal. It was fun. Things were going great, and we were living the dream that I dreamt about throughout my youth. Sean and Clive were working on Bad Boy, and he had his first couple of artists. He picked up Craig Mack and then some rapper from the West Coast called Notorious B.I. B1. I keep saying B.I. Notorious B1 to help Chris develop. He was collaborating with the biggest names in hip-hop to make it happen. Things couldn't be more amazing. Then he asked me to do it again. It was insane. Sean said, "Baby, I can't stop thinking about it." "What the hell are you talking about?" I responded. Sean continued, "I just can't stop thinking about that night. It was amazing. Can you screw me one more time, please?" I became infuriated. "Why don't you go to Clive? He the one screwing you, ain't he?" And then Sean hit me. This was the first time, but he slapped me hard. Before I could form words, he began to beg. I'm sorry." Holding my cheek where he hit me, I turned and ran out. That should have been it. But I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. He sent flowers and a bunch of expensive gifts. And then we bumped into each other at another industry event. He sat down next to me. This is deja vu. Sean started, "Imagine running into you here." "Get the fuck away from me," I forced out. He became more serious and said, "Look, baby, I'm sorry." But I just glared at him. "There's nothing you can ever say to me. Nothing." And after an awkward silence, he finished. "You know I love you. I love your son. He's my son. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll do anything. I'm sorry." Shit, he can be so sweet. Here we go with the love thing. This time, it's not falling in. He was great with Quincy, and to be honest, despite everything, I missed him. As he stood to walk away, I remember hearing myself saying, "Call me later." What the fuck is wrong with me? Chapter 4. Forgiveness. Sean arrived with flowers in his hands, and he wanted to see Quincy. He was so good with him, and Quincy ran over to hug him. I felt my heart melting. He asked Quincy, "How you doing, Tiger?" Quincy looked so innocent as he responded, "I'm good, I miss you." Sean's response seemed genuine. "I miss you too. We'll hang out tomorrow, okay?" Sean gave him a little tap on the butt. "It's bedtime." Quincy replied, "Okay, good night." Child said, "Okay, good night," as he turned to head towards his bedroom. We sat on the couch laughing and genuinely having a good time when the doorbell rang. The babysitter had arrived, and so we left. As we exited the house, a big man climbed out of the limo and opened the door for us. He wore a sharp suit with a gun noticeably tucked under his arm. I thought to myself, he could have made it invisible, or did he want me to see it? Despite my reservations, Gene was a sweetheart. He was a very courteous and polite man, and he tipped his head and said, "Good evening, ma'am." Gene drew a smile out of me as I responded, "Hello." Gene and I would see each other a lot after this day. So Gene...
Come back for part 2.